what's kind of been made of the first two games and how direct you guys have played. Is that a change in philosophy, or is it more just adapting to the situation?
I think it's a little bit of the opponent, what we felt would work. It's adapting to the personnel we have, and playing to the strengths that we have available right now. And I think it's, I wouldn't say it's a change in philosophy in encompassing everything, every way I look at the game. A philosophy for me is only a philosophy based on a situation. So it's maybe a change in philosophy based on the situation we're in.
When you look to preparing Kansas City, obviously this is a team that you know, but is a team that's been in a different conference. What's it like to have them in the Western Conference now and being a team you have to worry about more often?
There's no easy games in the West, that's for sure. You look at the results after the first two games. Only one team took full points. That's Dallas. Everybody else took 4, 3, and 2 on down. So it's going to come down to the wire. It's the 34-game season, and there's going to be ups and downs in terms of the table and points. But it's a long season. I think it's important to focus on that. And there are going to be games where, for instance, San Jose ends up going on the road and beating Seattle at home. So Seattle's on 3 points, and some of the others are on 3 points, where they lost and then won. And we're on 2 points, having drawn twice. So ultimately it's going to be a battle every single game. And I think that'll bring out the best, hopefully, in the teams that end up being in the playoffs. Hopefully we're one of the 6.
How do you feel, people have said the West, kind of comparing to the East in the last few years, has already been probably the strong conference, and then you bring in 2 other very good teams in Kansas City and Houston. How do you feel about how strong the West has gotten?
I think it's great for the league. I mean, it's makes it tougher, obviously, but we also get one more team in the playoffs, so it's hard to complain too much about that. If we're not one of the 6 out of 10, then even though we've added 2 very good teams, then we have only ourselves to blame, ultimately. But I think it's good for the league, and so what's good for the league is, I think everybody can feel good about that. And I think it'll hopefully, like I said, bring out the best in the teams that should be there in the end, fighting for MLS Cup.
Caleb, you've gone to Kansas City and played some good games recently. How does that impact this game, and how does them being a conference opponent maybe impact the way you approach the game, if at all?
I don't think it impacts really at this stage how we would approach the game. Obviously start the year, you're going, things are shaking out. You're going for 3 points every game, whether it's home or away. And, as the season unwinds a little bit, maybe you start to look at where you're at. And, when you play conference teams, you might perhaps gamble a little bit more than on the road, for instance. But we're going to go there to try to get 3 points, but we're going to do it in a way that's intelligent and smart. And, they're a good team, obviously, so we have to be, and they're very good at home, so we have to be aware of that, which we are, and we have a lot of respect for Kansas City. We have gone there and gotten 3 points, once in the league and then, once in the Open Cup, so we know we can do it, but it's going to take a good performance. This start of the year was never going to be easy. First 5 games are against playoff teams, and obviously we're managing a few injuries, but I'm confident we can go there and get a result.
What did you do? Can you take anything from those 2 successes there that can help you this week?
Well, I mean, you got to, again, look at it from the standpoint of how did they play in those games, what personnel, do they have now versus then. So you got to really factor those things in, but I think more than anything, psychologically, it gives us a little bit of confidence knowing that we've been able to go in there in a difficult place to play against a good team and get a result. So you can kind of draw on that a little bit. But, it seems like they're back to the 4-3-3 a little bit. They've been playing with more of a 4-4-2 and a few other systems. So in those 2 games, they did play a 4-3-3. So we will kind of look at those games a little bit. But they're different in terms of personnel than they were then, and we're different as well. So you can't completely think that what worked in those games is going to automatically work again.
You mentioned that they were a little different in terms of the personnel they have. Is there anyone out there who you've really identified as being a big change for them, or someone who could make a real impact on the game?
I think getting Espinoza back was a big move for them. You know, they've been a team that's, you know, their system and the way they play has been built a lot on their middle three, and Espinoza's a guy that gets around and wins balls and covers a lot of ground and makes plays, and you know he's good going forward as well. So they had a really good middle now in Fieldhaber, Espinoza, and Nagamura. You know, so I think that was a big move for them. And then they got the guy Nemec up top. You know, Dom Dwyer, what he can do. You know, he hasn't kind of found his first goal yet, but it isn't for lack of chances. He's got a lot of chances, and he'll continue to get chances. Hopefully we can, you know, manage him similar to how we've managed Aquina and Sabarillo. We did really well against two very good forwards. So this is no different. You know, every single game there's going to be a good forward in the other team, and that's a credit to the growth of the league and the way that these other teams have been able to draw really talented players. So he's a handful, certainly. And then, you know, you got the usual national teams, Uzi and Beasler in the back. You know, they've got a good team. So I think Espinoza, for me, was probably the addition that will make the most difference for them this year.
We didn't see Nanchoff out there. Is there any update?
Yeah, he went. I told you guys he went to LA to get evaluated, and he had sports hernia surgery. So he had that this morning. So he'll be out. I think it's 4 to 6 weeks with that.
How does that kind of change the dynamics of how you approach, especially like the subs?
Yeah. I mean, you noticed we didn't make a third sub. Obviously, we probably wouldn't have made a third attacking sub, anyways, because we were up. But then we weren't quickly. But you know, with Shiloh being limited last week and Nanchoff being limited, you know, our depth isn't great in the attack. We've got Gata and Maxi if we go with the lineup we've been going with. So those two pieces are very good depth. But we don't really have that third attacking depth option right now. Unless Shiloh gets back. He did train today, so that's a positive. But like I said at the start of the year, we might be still looking to add a piece to help us there.
Will there be any updates like on Danny O'Neill or any additions roster-wise?
Danny O'Rourke? Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure when the announcements will be made for T2, but yeah, we will be hopefully making some announcements with guys that will be signing for the first team, and then guys that will be signed with T2, and I'm assuming that will happen before the first T2 game.
After reflecting and looking at Sunday, the first 20 minutes of the second half, going back and looking at that, what did you see that LA did or you didn't do that took the momentum?
Well, I thought actually we had a nice composure about us defensively. When I went back and watched it, I felt like even though they had more possession to start the second half, we weren't getting broken down. So that was pleasing. I thought the goal kind of came, you know, out of a play that, you know, that we need to address. Going into the game, we knew width was going to be key, defending their flank play, and they got a cross off, and you know, ultimately we needed to manage the cross a little bit better. But you know, outside of the goal there, we were comfortable, I think, defensively. But where we didn't do well enough, in my opinion, was not the defending. It was when we got on the ball. You know, we need to do a better job of keeping the ball and managing the game, and you know, getting up the field. We weren't able to get up the field, which meant they were able to stay on top of us a bit. And but I thought overall, defensively, we were organized and pretty composed and looked mature. You know, outside of the goal that they got, which kind of came on a play that, you know, that shouldn't happen.
Was that the reason for making the switch?
Yeah, we put Gaston in to give us a little more possession, because we really weren't, like I said, we weren't really, getting up the field. So we felt, Nagby on the flank, would lengthen the field, and he also comes in and helps us with possession. So we went with more of a possession lineup, and I thought actually that did change in that regard. So, but in the end, that was the reason we put him in.
You mentioned obviously you played good teams to start with, and when you look at it, you played runners-up from the MLS Cup champions from last year, and again the winners from 2 years ago. So really 3 of the top teams in 3 games. How do you, whatever the results end up being, how do you keep it in perspective for your guys that from a psychological standpoint, that if, especially with the last 2 games, if it wasn't the exact result you wanted, you're doing very well?
I think that's part of my job, right? Is making sure that the guys understand the reality of where we're at and how we've performed, and I try to, like I am with you guys, try to be very fair and honest in what I say. I'm frankly more honest with them than I am with you. So, I try to be fair, and ultimately, I knew this last one would take some time to sink in a little bit because of the emotion of the way the game played out at the end. But I think, what I saw of the guys today and what I felt, and it was pretty much what I said after the game, is once this sinks in, we'll realize that it's not a bad result. It's a draw against a very good team, and even though we gave up a late goal, we got the goal to be up, and if we were the ones that scored the late goal, we'd feel great, but we probably shouldn't feel that much better, just like we shouldn't feel that much worse, because ultimately it's still a draw, and we still have 2 points, and it's 2 games in. It's a long season, and these guys know that it's a long season, and we're going to approach it that way, one at a time, and keep a good perspective. And we know we need points, but we also have. If you look back on 2013, we understand that we didn't get. I think we were 3 points after the first 4 games. So there's a lot of different ways to get where we want to get. Obviously, 5 points in the first 8, that won't happen, and that can't happen. That was too big a hole. So these games coming up are important, but if you look at around the league, everybody's still neck and neck, and it's going to be a fight till the end, and it's going to be a long season. And I think it's going to be more than ever a season where there's surprises, there's upsets, like I said, there's teams beating other teams you don't expect, taking points off each other all the time. So I think if you're keeping an even keel and you put yourself in a position to win games, and you reflect on obviously the games that you don't win and correct those things, but don't get too low, I'm confident with this group that we're going to be where we need to be, no doubt about it. So we'll keep an even keel, and we'll get up for the next game. We'll look at some things that we have to correct, like always. We'll correct those. But right now, for me, I'm pleased with overall the performance against 2 very good teams.
Thanks, Caleb.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good day.